Hi guys, this is Jerry. So, welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to talk about something super uber duper importante. Okay, so we're going to talk about government today. We're going to talk about the US corporation. And I'm just going to explicitly say in the beginning everything that I am saying. Honestly, a lot of people do not know. So, in the past, now it could be a little bit more. And hopefully, after watching this video, after informing yourself, after educating yourself, enlightening yourself, you'll know a lot more about what's been going on behind the scenes. What's been going on behind the scenes with all their schemes and their contracts and everything. I also want to say that this video is inspired by Sister Myrah's video, so I'll link her video down below. She does a better job than me at explaining this, and there's a few points that I bring up that she also brings up in her videos, so there are some things that are reminiscent, but all this information I've collected, I've known about, and I know there are a lot more people that are talking about this compared to 10 or 20 years ago, so I am just another one of those people. All right, guys, let's get into it. And I first want to talk about what we're seeing here. So, why did all of a sudden Charles come to the White House? Why did he come to the White House? What was he talking about? What was this whole event about? I just want to let you guys know off the back that the monarchy has already been dismantled, and there's been a lot of symbolism that's already shown us that the monarchy has already been dismantled. The first big one, the one that definitely showed us, and you should definitely look this up on Google, is the crest falling off the front of the palace. So the crest falling off shows us that they are no longer in power. Okay? There is no tyrannical reign or secret societal reign over the whole entire earth. Another thing that people also want to bring up is the queen. So the queen, who was notoriously known or occultly known as like the witch, her wand being broken during her funeral. But honestly, everybody will just let you know if you just look on TikTok or whoever you're following for that type of information. The crest falling off lets us know that the British are no longer in control. And him coming here is just basically like a final farewell, basically the prelude to everything collapsing. And this is the final days. And you can tell when you are watching the video with him interacting with Trump, Trump is all doing honestly everything he can to show symbolically, to show us with signs and signals that again, he's standing in front of the so-called king, he's touching the king, he's doing things that would be considered rude, just talking, standing up while he's giving a speech. All of these things are indications that the king is no longer in power, okay? So, what I want all of us to know about is we were always connected to the monarchy. We were never let go from their reign. We were always one with them, okay? Where did George Washington come from? Okay? Where did he come from? He came from the bloodline of this monarchy. And thus for their corporation, this corporation that was instituted, this American United States corporation, is just an extension of that monarchy. So, I want to say this loud and clear. We were all under natural law. We were all natural beings on this earth, okay? But because of ignorance, because we fell from grace, we forgot we were the gods of earth and that we were just the caretakers of earth. Then we go into a sleep. We go into a sleep and we enter into contracts. We enter into contracts that are under the Pope and that are under the monarchy. So we go from natural law to man made law. Man made law is the law that we're all under if you have a social security card, if you're a citizen, and man made law is always through contracts. So I want to show you guys the history of how it all started, and I have to put the slides up here. I have to put the slides up here because I'm not really good with dates and I'm not really good with history because, again, a lot of this stuff is a lot of the history that we were taught was really fake. So I just have to go through it to let you guys know this is how we began to fall into man made law. So, July 4th, 1776, okay, the US corporation, okay, began. This is when it all started, 1789. Okay, so because their loans were not repaid to the monarchs, they were not repaid. All of the citizens, US citizens, so all of those that were now considering themselves citizens, that are not a part of any other nation, are now under the crown of England. So the loan was not repaid, so all of the US citizens were mortgaged to the crown of England. 1859, the states went into default to the corporations. So again, this is when we start having states. This is where we have starting having artificial lines, where we start to have all of these states, okay, these states, these diluting states, these imaginary lines, these imaginary places. This is where they start to go and they start becoming a part of the US corporation. 1861 to 1865 is the Civil War. Okay, so just putting that out there, we were going at Civil War. And Lincoln started the Legal Tender Act. So again, they were trying to repay the crown. And they could not repay the crown, they could not repay back they could not repay the crown. So Lincoln knew about this, and he knew the money that they were printing during the Civil War time. He knew that this was just going to lead to disasters, so he had something called the greenbacks, and the greenbacks were all backed up with real money. It's not the fiat money, it's not the fake imaginary money that we have today, and they knew about this, they knew what he was trying to do, so they killed him. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why they killed him is because they were trying to get back to real. They were trying to get back away from the artificial, away from the imaginary. And then in 1933, people and their assets were mortgaged to the corporation. So I'm going to get into that in the presentation, but everybody in the United States, if you are considered a US citizen, then you as a person and your energy and your body, okay, when you have your birth certificate and your social security card, you are now owned by the corporation. All of you are mortgaged, okay? All of your assets and energy, everything is mortgaged to pay back the debt. And every 70 years, they have to refinance. They have to say, oh, we still have this debt. So every time they refinance, every 70 years, we go through some sort of financial crisis. So 2008, the financial crisis happened, and people were sort of realizing, oh, we don't want we don't want to pay all this taxpayer money. We do not need to do all of these X, Y, and Z contractual things that are not a part of being a natural sovereign being. Okay? the next thing that I want to put in the forefront of your mind is the Magna Carta. And I know Charles was talking about this in his speech. I just barely saw it, and it was really weird because his eyes looked like he was bulging. It's like, are you a human or are you a reptilian? You just look really weird talking about the Magna Carta. And he got some applause, but if people knew what the Magna Carta was, they would not be applauding him talking about equal balances and checks for the Supreme Courts or for whoever is seen as atop of the people, atop of the land. So, Magna Carta basically turned national law into commerce law. Okay? This is really important. So, this whole document made it possible for now the whole earth is under the jurisdiction of the Pope. So, if you read about the history of the Magna Carta, this stripped the reign of the king, whatever his name was, the king at this time, they stripped his reign to the people. This is what they say, or to law, to be under the jurisdiction of law. So, what they basically did was transfer the power of the king to democracy. And democracy in itself will always be unjust. It will always be unjust because democracy is basically the mob effect. Whatever the government wants to propaganda, whatever the government wants to put as the ideal, whatever the government or the corporation wants the people to be under, they will do the propaganda, they will do the mobs, they will do the fake illusions to make sure that it looks like everyone is voting for this candidate. It looks like everyone is voting for this law. But that is not natural. That is not the republic that we are supposed to be under. Guys, we're gonna watch this TikTok, and again, it goes into what I've been talking about, the contracts that they put us under. So let's see if we can hear it. I'm gonna play it again.
Was signed with the King of England back in the Middle Ages, where the Pope said that an actual contract was signed with the King of England back in the Middle Ages, where the Pope said that he declared himself the vicar of Christ. The word vicar in Latin simply means someone who stands in for someone else. According to the Vatican concept that God created the whole heavens and he created the earth, he gave the earth to Jesus, his son, and so consequently Jesus owns the earth and everything on it. But since Jesus is not here right now, somebody has to run the earth. So consequently, the Pope is going to stand in for him till he gets here. A lot of people are totally unaware of this contract between Rome and the King of England to rule the world. And at that time, the people who were called English became known as British. British comes from a Hebrew word, berith. In Hebrew, the word berith is a contract or a covenant. And ish in Hebrew means man or men, can be singular or plural. Therefore, berith ish, contract man, or man of the contract, or British, the man of the contract. This is why in the Western world, anything you're going to do in business requires a contract. That's the way the Vatican set it up.
Sounds like the way the mafia works.
That's exactly right, to put a contract on you.
Guys, so I think you get the point. So the Pope and the king or the crown are working together under this contract, and the Pope is the one that holds all the contracts, and the crown is basically the treasurer for the Pope. And I just wanted to read you guys this really quick because, again, this goes back to the U.S. history, us going into bankruptcy. So in 1871, The U.S. Treasury went bankrupt as a result of the Civil War. It sought help from the global financiers, such as the Rothschilds of London. Global bankers were eager to buy, and the Treasonous Act of 1871 was passed by the 41st Congress. The Constitution was altered, and America was transformed into a corporation. Today, it's still a corporation owned by global bankers. There is no federal government, only a corporation. Politicians do not serve we the people. They work for the corporate America and no one else. America's product, you. Okay, so not only did they use the people and their energy to finance their wars, they made you unknowingly enter into contracts. So, I'm not sure if you guys can see this. Let me just make sure that you can see this. Okay, so again, we did not repay the loan. Okay, that was given. So everyone is under the crown of England, all right? The Queen controls Social Security, and the Pope, everything goes to him, and the Queen is the treasurer. Okay, guys, I want to talk about this. So, there are 2 contracts that we have as U.S. citizens. Okay, 2 contracts that entered us into man-made jurisdiction. And these contracts are also known as trusts. And if you guys are looking at the picture, what is a trust? It is a legal relationship, and there are 3 parties involved. Okay, there is a grantor, there's a trustee, and a beneficiary. Okay, we are supposed to be all 3. We're supposed to own all of our assets. We're supposed to have private control over all of our assets, but we do not. Okay, so the grantor is basically the corporation, the U.S. corporation. The trustee, the manager, is whoever you're giving your power to. So it could be the state, it could be whatever contract or document that you sign, that is the trustee or manager. If you're going to buy a house, they're the trustee or the manager over your assets, and you are the one that is receiving from Big Papa, from Big Brother. All right. So let's look at what the 2 contracts are. So the first contract is your birth certificate. The second contract is your Social Security. And again, honestly, guys, you need to look up these 2 trusts. And I'm going to show you guys what it says about these trusts really quick, or one of the trusts. But you are now under a trust. As soon as your parents sign the birth certificate and they put your name in all caps, as soon as you get a Social Security card and you get your name in all caps. Okay, let's look at the Cestui Trust. Okay, the Cestui Trust is a British law passed to manage property disputes when beneficiaries of a lease went missing or were presumed dead, particularly following the Great Plague and the Great Fire of London. And they also put this: the Cestui is often misunderstood or misused as in sovereign citizen or freeman of the land conspiracy theories. These are incorrect claims the Act created. What the Cestui Trust basically does, it gives title to the state. The birth certificate is a title, the mortgage is a title, and everything that has a title, they can put a bond behind it, and they can sell you and your energy, you as a person, on the black market or on the market or on the IMF. So let's continue. So first thing I want to bring up is there is a bond on your birth certificate. There is a literal bond on your birth certificate. So let's look at it really quick. Okay, your birth certificate bond is worth billions. It is worth billions, and I will show you guys where it is, but it says, okay, so your birth certificate bond is worth billions, and I will show you guys what it means by that, but I want to read you guys this portion down here. When you are born, your parents register you with the government as a corporation by receiving and signing a birth certificate. In a few years, your ID number. This is so you can be used as collateral for the government to acquire debt. That's right. You and your labor, time, and energy is what backs up the national debt. You are stock. Okay? So, who is entrusted, who manages your trust is the county and the state, okay? You are not the beneficiary of your trust, it is the state. And just like Sister Myrah said in the video that I mentioned, she says that when you're 18, you can go to the state, you can go to the county, and you can tell them, I would like to have control over my trust. I would like to have control of my birth certificate. But again, we do not know this information, so they're able to use us in our ignorance. When your birth certificate was monetized and converted into a United States government bond shortly after your birth by your mother, your net worth became unlimited into billions of dollars without your mother and father's knowledge. When the United States declared bankruptcy in 1933 under the bankruptcy strawman law known as H.J.R. 192, pledged all Americans as collateral, debt slaves against the national debt to the international. Okay, to the international bankers. So guys, this is what I want to show you guys if you guys are interested in figuring out what's going on with your birth certificate, what's going on with your social security number. If you go on the Fidelity website, you put in your social security number, and you can see your QSIP number, you can see your stock number, and you can see your social security number, and you can see that it's being traded on Wall Street. And I'm going to show you guys a video that displays that.
Remember I told y'all court case numbers are bonds? Well, guess what? So is your birth certificate. That's how much my birth certificate is worth. The way you do that is you go to fidelity.com, make you a free account. Once you make you a free account, you want to go to get a quote. And you put the bottom numbers of your birth certificate in that section where it says get a quote. And you should want to find something what is known as your QSIP number. You see that right there? Your QSIP number is an identifying number that it helps you figure out the bond's worth. It also tells you where that bond is being traded and collateralized at. You want your QSIP number, and you can use that number to discharge any and all debt. Okay? You go to fidelity.com, make you a free account, go to get a quote. After you do get a quote, you put your bottom number of your birth certificate up in here, and you should come up with. So remember I told y'all court case.
Alright guys, I think you guys get the point. So you can look up online. You can look up online if you want to. But again, a lot of this stuff is everything in the corporation is basically dismantling. Everything is being dismantled at this time. So only if you're curious, but again. Alright, so all of this because, again, everything turned from man-made law, everything turned from natural law to man-made law. So this created a national character, a straw man, which forms your own corporation. It forms your own corporation, so no matter what, no matter what you look at, if you look at your social security, if you look at your credit card, if you look at whatever document, after you sign the contract, after you are born, okay, after your parents sign for you, okay, you are now considered a vessel, you are now considered goods, and you will always be addressed in capital letters whenever you sign on the dotted line. Okay, so you are now considered a corporation. And again, this goes for credit card companies, mortgages, and they are now going to deal with your corporate entity. So after you sign the contract, you become the corporate entity, and they can only refer to you as the corporate entity, and I'm going to zoom in on this so you guys can see it if you want to screenshot it. So the US citizen is the artificial person, and it waives all inalienable rights, corporate slaves, not entitled to their potential, what does that say? Not entitled to personal privileges, the corporation, created by the corporation, the United States, and you guys can see it on all of your documents, all in your license plates, yada, yada, yada. Okay, this is what I want to talk about here. So again, I have been saying since the beginning of the video, again, we went from natural law, okay, the law of cosmic law, to man-made jurisdiction. So we went from the republic, which is private, to the democratic, to the public. I want to read this image really quick about Admiralty law or maritime law. So we're going to read it. I'm not going to read everything, but again, I want you guys to get a good grasp at what type of jurisdiction that we are under. Okay, Admiralty law or maritime law is a system of law originally codified by the Republic of Venice from the 11th century and is subsequently refined over subsequent centuries governing the operation ownership of vessels, which is us, on the oceans, transport, insurance of cargo, commerce, bills. Admiralty is the foundation of international law, or private law. Maritime comes from the early 13th century combination of two Latin words, mari, sea, and timeo, fear, meaning literally sea of fear, fear of the holy, of the sea, an extremely off word to define a form of the law of the seas, the formation of the private company owned by the Venetians through the Phoenicians, otherwise known as the Holy See, was officially formed through a ceremony in 1250. Alright guys, I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to show you guys a video because, again, they like to put it in our faces through popular culture, again, giving us the signs and symbols about what is going on, basically showing us what is going on without us fully knowing what is going on. Okay guys, I want to show this clip. It's funny. Dale Gribble always talks about conspiracy theories. He's like the Hayoka. He's gonna let us know about a little bit of what's going on with maritime law, so let's watch it.
Mr. Gribble, remove your hat in my courtroom.
I do not recognize the authority of a court that hangs the gold-fringed flag. A flag with gilded edges is the flag of an admiralty court. An admiralty court signifies a naval court-martial. I cannot be court-martialed twice. That is all.
Mr. Gribble, remove your hat in my courtroom.
I do not recognize the authority of a court that hangs the gold-fringed flag. A flag with gilded edges is the flag of an admiralty court. An admiralty court signifies a naval court-martial. I cannot be court-martialed twice. That is all.
Alright guys, I think you get it. So, I also want to mention that, again, not only are the courts under the Vatican, under the Pope reign and their contractual rule, you also have to know that the judges are also a part of the scheme. The judges are also a part of the scheme. So, most of the courts that you see, most of the courts in your state are called administrative courts. So they are fake courts basically because they do not have jury over you. So, administrative courts are law of the sea, and they're about maritime commercial jurisdiction. Okay, they are for dead entities. They are for dead entities. They are for the straw men. Okay, artificial legal persons, which is most of the population. Okay, a corporate dispute resolution service for consenting parties. Settle accounts, administrative, commerce, which is the laws that we are currently under. We are under the commerce laws. All right, guys, I think you get the point. So, I also want to bring this up that, again, jurisdiction is everything. Jurisdiction is everything. So, if they can get you to sign on the dotted line, if they can get you to make sure that you are following the contracts that they want you to follow, then they have your jurisdiction. You're an answer to the name on the paperwork. You just accepted the role of a corporate debtor. You show up to court without rebuttal. Silence is agreement. You gave them authority. You signed without a title or reservation. They treat you as a surety, not the executor. Okay? What you should be doing is responding as authorized representative. And again, if you guys want to read your rights, if you ever are in court, if you are in one of those administrative courts, you can easily look it up if they are administrative or not, especially if you see that flag. Especially if you see the flag again, the one that Dale Gribble was talking about, you can see their maritime flags flying. Then you know that you're in an administrative court. Okay, and I just want to show you guys this. Again, the Admiralty law words, we see this all around us because they want to let us know that we are in their holy sea. We are in their holy sea. We are in their seas of commerce. We're not navigating the world basically in our sovereign capacity in a republic in natural law. So we have birth certificate, we have citizenship, leadership, we have currency, liquid assets, we have the court, we have the dock, the court is the dock and the harbor is the dock, survivorship, cash flow, liquidation, apprenticeship, bankruptcy, disbandment, worship, deposit, loan sharks. So all of this, again, lets us know that we are under their system. We have been under their holy seas. And I also want to mention again that the state governments, the state courts are not unconstitutional, guys. They are not constitutional. So if you guys are seeing on the news or you're hearing maybe in your city basically that a lot of the judges are being taken away or they're being secretly prosecuted, this is why, because they were never legal in the first place. So statutory law, state law, legal code is defined as the undoing of God's law. So this comes straight from the encyclopedia. And all of their legal codes, all of their state laws, all of their commercial codes, again, is taking us away from natural God creation law, taking you away from being the creator, your own benefactor, your own guarantor. And now it is putting you at the state of a straw man, undoing God's law. Okay, guys, I know that was a lot of information, and I really didn't get into a lot of the occult stuff. I just kind of tried to give you guys the skeleton of what's been going on, and hopefully whatever you guys were hearing, you guys go do your own research and you find these documents, you read them for yourself, or you go and check things out on your end. But I wanted to leave you guys with 3 more points. So, we have always been in a bankruptcy, okay? We have always been in a bankruptcy. I think you guys can see the debt clock. The debt clock, and that means we have always been under fiat money, which again is fake money. It's not backed by gold, it's not backed by silver. I'm sure you guys can see throughout history that a lot of presidents have been taking the copper, taking the gold, taking the silver from the citizens, taking the property, selling their assets against the debt of the people. But we have always been in a bankruptcy, okay? So that means everything when we are in commerce, when we are in maritime law, everything is backwards. Everything is in the reverse, okay? Everything is going to be absolutely inverted from natural creation law. So you are either a creditor or you are a debtor, okay? You either give the credit or you're just always in debt. You are the debit. You are either a creditor or a debitor. And a creditor, if you are a sovereign person who has taken control over your straw man, you went to your state or county legislator and you said, I'm going to take control. I am the guarantor over my title, over my title, over my birth certificate, over my social security. You are the creditor that takes control of the commerce, and you can now navigate the waters of maritime law of their commerce as a creditor rather than a debtor. So guys, I know this was a lot of information. I just wanted to give it to you guys for you to think about, for you to chew about. But again, I also want to mention that all of this stuff is leaving us, just like I showed you guys with the first image of the king and Trump, so-called King Charles and Trump. Everything is leaving us. This monetary system that was basically making us into slaves and not being upfront or transparent with what they were doing. This is all leaving us. This is all going away. And we can see it in the signs and symbols. We can feel the energies. We know that their time is up. Everything is done. Complete. Finito. Okay. Todo. Everything is kaput. So, what you can be doing during this time is, again, what you can be doing is informing yourself about this, talking about this with other people that you trust, and this will also help the consciousness be aware. This will also help the consciousness of the people to, again, to uprise, either physically or spiritually, because the more that we know about what's been going on, the more that we become aware of their plots, of their schemes, okay? Then we can see for what they truly are. We can start to have discernment, and people are not going to just allow things to slide over. They're not just going to allow them to pass laws, allow them to put in administrative courts and judges that have no jurisdiction over you whatsoever. All right, guys, I'm gonna leave it as there. So let me know what you guys think. Please comment. Let me know if you guys made it to the end of the video. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace.